All right, so every month, the Labor Force Survey gives us a brand new snapshot of Canada's economy. And the story for August 2025, well, it's one of a distinct chill setting in. The job market is definitely cooling down, but what does that actually mean for you or for the average Canadian worker? Let's dig into the numbers and find out what's really going on.
So the big headline number, it's a tough one. In August, the Canadian economy actually shed 66,000 jobs. Now, what's really concerning here is that this isn't just a one-off. This is the second month in a row of losses, right after we lost 41,000 jobs in July. So we're not just looking at a blip on the radar anymore. This is starting to look like a real trend.
And, fewer jobs means one thing. The unemployment rate goes up. It now sits at 7.1%. And to put that into perspective for you, if you totally set aside the crazy pandemic years, we haven't seen a number this high since way back in May of 2016. It's a crystal clear signal that the job market, which was red hot for a while, is absolutely losing steam.
But these big national numbers, they never tell the whole story, do they? Because this kind of economic shift doesn't land on everyone equally. So the real question is, who is feeling this the most?
Well, it turns out this slowdown is hitting workers right in their prime earning years. We're talking about folks aged 25 to 54. For men in this group, the employment rate has dropped to its lowest point since March 2017. And for women, it's the lowest it's been since August 2018. This isn't about students losing summer jobs. This is hitting the very core of the Canadian workforce.
So where did all these jobs disappear from? Well, a really big hit came from a place you might not expect, the professional, scientific, and tech services sector. This is usually a major engine for growth, but it shed 26,000 jobs. Transportation and manufacturing also saw some pretty big declines. But hey, look at this one bright spot. Construction actually added 17,000 jobs, completely bucking the trend.
Okay, now let's zoom out a little bit and see how this is all playing out across the country, because the story is very, very different depending on where you happen to live.
It seems like the pain is really concentrated in Canada's biggest provincial economies. Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta saw the largest drops in jobs. And what's really interesting is Alberta, where the unemployment rate jumped all the way to 8.4%. I mean, if you take the pandemic out of the equation, that's a level the province hasn't seen in almost a decade. Wow. And to make this even more real, to bring it down from a big provincial number to something local, let's just look at one city. In southern Ontario, a region that's already facing some economic uncertainty, the city of Windsor now has one of the highest unemployment rates in the entire country at a staggering 11.1%. It just goes to show you how these big national trends can have a massive, massive impact at the local level.
But you know what? That headline unemployment rate, it doesn't tell the whole story, not even close. To really understand what's happening under the surface, we need to look at a concept called underemployment.
So what is this time-related underemployment thing? It sounds a little complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. It just measures the share of workers who already have a job, but they want to and are available to work more hours than they're getting. Basically, they have a job, but it's just not enough. And in Canada right now, that number is 8.8%. Just let that sink in for a second. Beyond the 7.1% of people who are officially unemployed, you have nearly 1 in 10 employed Canadians who aren't getting the hours they need. It's a huge sign that the labor market is actually even weaker than that headline number makes it sound.
So you gotta ask, why do people want more hours? Well, it's not about getting ahead or saving up for a luxury vacation. For more than half of them, we're talking nearly 56%, the reason is just to cover their current everyday expenses, groceries, rent, bills. That's a really stark reflection of the financial pressure a lot of households are feeling right now.
But here's where the story gets really interesting, kind of flips on its head. While you have almost 9% of workers who are desperate for more hours, you've got almost 16% who actually want fewer hours. And they're citing things like needing more leisure time, family responsibilities, or just plain old work-related stress. It really paints a picture of the complex, competing pressures facing Canadian workers today.
And all of this leads us right into another hidden corner of the labor market story, the people who are already working more than one job just to get by. So let's just ask the question straight up. With all these pressures we're seeing, why are so many Canadians taking on multiple jobs?
Okay, first things first. It's important to point out that the overall rate of people working more than one job has actually been remarkably stable. It's holding steady at 5.4%, so it hasn't spiked recently, but it's definitely a persistent feature of our economy.
So what's the motivation here?
Well, a third of these workers are holding down multiple jobs simply to pay for essential needs. Another third are doing it just to earn some extra income. So if you add that up, for 2 out of every 3 of them, this isn't about pursuing some passion project on the side, it's about pure financial necessity.
So after looking at all this data, after putting all these pieces together, we're left with one final and I think crucial question. Are we just seeing a temporary cooling in a job market that's going to bounce back? Or are these numbers, the higher unemployment, the widespread underemployment, and this reliance on multiple jobs just to make ends meet, are they pointing to a much tougher, new